All right, here it is, Antonio. Well,
Right.
welcome everybody to another episode of Intentwise webinars. Quick intro, I am Srinath Reddy. I'm one of the founders here at Intentwise and the host today. A quick note about Intentwise, we are a technology company and we offer two solutions. We have a advertising management platform for Amazon, Walmart, Criteo, Instacart. We also have a data infrastructure and data automation platform for Amazon and e-commerce. In essence, what it does is it automatically collects, enriches, and makes accessible a ton of Amazon data for you. So if you're struggling with anything around Amazon data, we should talk. I leave my plug there. And we are here to talk about Amazon Marketing Cloud, which we are super excited to do so. I'm joined by Antonio Exome. He's dialing in from Mexico City. If you haven't already gathered, he is the founder of Profit Logic, which is one of the largest Amazon and e-commerce agency based out of Mexico. And Antonio, why don't you take a moment, introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, Srinath, thank you for having me on yet another episode of the webinar. I'm always super excited to be joining you and everybody and sharing just a few thoughts on several topics. Like you mentioned, I'm the founder of Profit Logic. We're the largest Amazon advertising advanced partner in Latin America, and we offer managed services and full service e-commerce strategies and advertising throughout LATAM.
Perfect. Thank you for that intro. The context for today's conversation, by the way, just somebody give me a quick okay if you're able to see my screen. Anyone? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sarah. By the way, Sarah Johnson is our content director. She's also on the call. She'll be sharing some links along the way in the chat, so keep an eye on that. Quick note on logistics for today's conversation. We'll share the recording. We will also be sharing we'll also have Q&A at the end. And then it is a new topic, so to the extent that we can address the questions, we'll take them. If not, we'll follow up with you separately. And with that, let me dive in. Today's agenda really is pretty tight. We'll talk about Amazon Marketing Cloud. If you haven't already seen Amazon Marketing Cloud, we'll actually show you under the hood a little bit. Get into very specific nuances about what's unique and different about AMC data. We will tag team here, but Antonio will walk us through some use cases that he has run into and executed against the AMC data. And then we'll wrap by talking about, okay, how do we make the most out of AMC for your brand or agency, whoever you might be. And before I jump in though, the reason why we're doing this webinar is like Antonio and I have found ourselves just trading all kinds of questions around AMC, around queries, what data is where, what data means what, and we decided, let's just start. And we view this as a stream of interactions where we'll share as much as we can about Amazon Marketing Cloud over the next several weeks. And then just one note about Antonio, I will call out is he spent quite a bit of time at Facebook and then at Google, and with Amazon, he decided to go down this path of running his own agency. He does come from a unique perspective when it comes to data infrastructure, around platforms like Facebook, Google, and Amazon. With that, let's dive in. So let me set this up, right? Which is, this is no surprise to any of you. Amazon's ad stack has been evolving so rapidly. And in our minds, we think about the ad stack in two layers. There is the actual advertising solutions, which is sponsored ads, DSP, Amazon attribution. In case you're not aware, Amazon attribution is a mechanism to measure external traffic impacts on Amazon. But then what we have seen is this wave of innovations around measurement solutions, right? So seller partner API, what used to be NWS API became SP API. For those of you that are 1P vendors on the call, SP API is the first time they started to expose vendor central data through an API. So that's exciting. But there's just a ton of data being shared through seller partner API. Amazon Marketing Stream, they released beta not too long ago. That is your hourly stream of data, whether it's traffic conversions or budget consumptions. And then today's topic, which is Amazon Marketing Cloud, which is relatively new as well. But I think this is what the stack looks like today. And I don't believe it's complete either. There's lots of little pieces that I'm not covering today, but that's what the stack looks like. It's evolving fast. And the way we view Amazon Marketing Cloud, we view it going forward as the centerpiece of all Amazon ad measurement. And that's kind of what we see Amazon is doing with it. Broadly speaking, today, within Amazon Marketing Cloud, you can get access to your DSP data, search ads data. You can even upload your custom data to mix and match things. Seismic, I think I spelled it wrong, SIZMIK. It's a display advertising platform Amazon had bought a while back. So if you're an advertiser running ads through Seismic, you can see that data also in Amazon Marketing Cloud. And then lastly, this little bucket that says non-ads retail data, that is the paid version of AMC, and I'm going to talk about that more. Data on shoppers that never got exposed to ads but went and bought your products. So you can get that data too. So in short, all of this is coming together at a very, very fine grain and with mechanisms to connect and stitch together, right? So I think to me, that is what is exciting about AMC. And I'll say this multiple times on this call. As an organization, if you haven't already started building some muscle around Amazon Marketing Cloud, you should start it now, right? But hopefully we'll make this clear by the time we are done as to why that matters. A quick inside look. Actually, this is, I want to do a quick poll here just to see how many of you have used AMC. Let me launch this. Give me 1 second. Please take a moment and respond to that poll. Okay. Thank you so much. Just quick summary on the poll. 20% of you have seemed to have, actually less than 20% of you have signed in and seen Amazon Marketing Cloud. I think there's lots of things we'll do today. I'll show you what Amazon Marketing Cloud looks like, but also if you're incurring any kind of DSP spend today, you should aim to get access to AMC, and we can talk about how that can happen for you. But yeah, so less than 20%, actually 15% of you have used Amazon Marketing Cloud. So that leaves us with a lot of folks that have not seen it before. So here it is. Let me go further in my slide deck. All right, so this is what the AMC interface looks like, by the way. Nothing crazy. You've got what's called a query editor. You write SQL statements. SQL stands for structured query language. It is a skill that is important to build on your team. We'll talk about that too. But you write a bunch of SQL to get data back, download it, and you do whatever you want with it. That's the standard interaction. On the left-hand side, you see a whole bunch of data sets. On top, you see Amazon ads. That includes DSP, sponsored ads. Subscriptions is when you get the paid version of AMC, and that's where you get data around shoppers that have never been exposed to ads. And you can also upload your own data, right? So this is what it looks like. Just going one step further, on the left-hand side where you saw Amazon ads, these are the actual data sets, right? We are not going to cover each one of these as to exactly what they mean, but broadly speaking, what you have in terms of data sets is you've got sponsored ads data, you've got DSP data, you've got all kinds of events. Events can be an impression of an ad to a shopper, a click, a conversion, and you have all kinds of attributes on those events: device type, timestamp all the way down to the minute and second, geography. There's all kinds of rich data underneath on each of those events. But just broadly speaking, you've got event data, DSP. Seismic may not be relevant to most of you, but sponsored ads data is right there. And then any data on people that have never been exposed to advertising also is there if you pay for it. So these are the data sets. Now, okay, but what's so unique about this? That may be the question in your mind. Let me make that clear. Actually, before I go there, besides the query editor, there's a whole bunch of sample queries. You don't have to sit and write a query from scratch. You can just click one of these instructional queries and hit a button and you get data sets back. Here's some examples. Path to conversion is an example of, okay, what are all the campaigns that shoppers have touched before buying something from you? Time to conversion, DSP and sponsored ads, time of day performance, day of week, time of day. There's all kinds of queries. This is just a small sample, but there is pre-built queries that you can execute and start to extract data from AMC. Now, what about the data is new or a game changer from what you've been used to before, right? So let me try to answer that question. So I took 3 sample tables and I just listed 3 columns in each of those tables. So there's a table called DSP impressions, there's a table called DSP clicks, there's a table called sponsored ads traffic. And these are the 3 columns from each of those tables. What I get excited about this is this field called user ID. User ID is an ID of a shopper that you will see in each of these tables, right? So what Amazon is tracking is every impression and every click down to the shopper level within AMC. Now, this is when Antonio has hit me in the head and asked me to put this disclaimer multiple times. So I'm going to do that. User ID, you can't just extract data for each individual user and just spit it into a spreadsheet. You cannot see user ID because of all kinds of data privacy and security reasons. User ID is a non-viewable field. However, you can join all these tables together on a single on the user ID, and you can run aggregates on it, right? So you could do things like show me all those shoppers who saw a DSP ad, then a sponsored ads ad, and then how did they behave versus just looking at sponsored ads. So those types of queries and probing of data becomes really easy. Why? Because at the finest grain, you've got data at a user ID and an event date grain, right? So what that means is you could get stitched together whatever patterns you want. And if you have questions, by the way, you could keep throwing questions in the Q&A section. We'll get to them after we're done with the slide deck. So in essence, here's an example, right? Because of the grain of data, it is very easy now to put together different cohorts of your shoppers. And these are just simply examples, right? I can look at a cohort that looked at your DSP ads and then your sponsored ads to see how does that cohort behave from a spend, revenue, ROAS, or any cost perspective. I can compare that with DSP only, and I can compare that with sponsored ads only. So what this does is, see, for the last 3 to 4 years, we've lived in this world of last click attribution, meaning the last campaign that results in a transaction gets the credit. There could be multiple campaigns influencing performance, influencing shoppers. There could be multiple ad types like DSP and sponsored ads. There was just no way to stitch those interactions together. And with AMC, you can. That's the change. With that, I'm sure there's questions on this, but again, like keep keep firing away your questions in the Q&A. What I want to do now is I want to turn it over to Antonio, who's going to walk us through about 4 specific examples of how he's leveraging this data. Okay, and I will caveat this by saying, like, we're not even this is not even like tip of the iceberg, right? It's like there are so many possibilities, they're limitless. But our hope here is to get your appetite going around AMC data. Antonio, do you want to take it away?
Yeah.
All right, go for it.
Happy to. So I wanted to begin with providing a little context about a full funnel Amazon strategy, just to underline of the importance of having, of executing full funnel strategies, especially when we're trying to undertake a deep measurement tool like Amazon Marketing Cloud. As we all know, DSP and sponsor ads are 2 separate platforms, and like Srinath was mentioning, attribution was down to the last event. So they lived separate from each other. And while, if you've been doing this for a while, you certainly can see the impact of one in the other once you get down to the results. But one of the wonders with AMC is that we have now the ability to understand how all of the Amazon advertising solutions work and interact and support each other, and also to create studies and measure and analysis from all of your external traffic efforts that you're doing outside of Amazon. So having said that, we have a list of cases that we want to run through and just give a small perspective on how we have used them and how do they work. And so we're gonna go through a DSP and a sponsor product analysis, device path to purchase, frequency analysis, and time to purchase. Just a quick note, all data has been randomized and anonymized for the purpose of this presentation. I'm a stickler for privacy, Srinath, so I just had to make that note public.
No problem. All right, here it is.
So the first one, DSP and sponsor products overlap. I think this is one of the most interesting queries of AMC, and just to provide some background, we as an agency, when we started investing in DSP, most of our clients were, they wanted to understand the true impact of DSP on conversions, and empirically we were able to see that whenever we activated anything on the top of the funnel, search volume increased and ROAS increased. And we were also able to spend more on the sponsor ads and get a better overall return on ROAS. And you will notice this effect on the consumer's behaviors. Most brands see an increase in branded search volume, and even if DSP returns a lower ROAS, your total sales are increasing. But now with AMC, we were, for the first time, and this happened last year when we got into the AMC beta, we were able to prove beyond a doubt what the actual impact of running a full funnel strategy was. In this particular case, what we did is we created 3 cohorts. The first one was consumers who were only impacted by DSP. The second cohort was consumers who were only impacted by sponsored products. And the third one was consumers who were impacted by both the DSP campaign and the sponsored products campaign. These 3 cohorts are exclusive of each other. And we measured both shoppers, total numbers of shoppers, and total number of sales. So what we did is we were showing here the actual purchase rate. I mean, it's a total number of sales between total number of people who were exposed, to try to figure out what was the actual purchase rate of each cohort. And what we found out is, and this was surprising when we saw it the first time, is that when the purchase rate was, in this case, 4 times higher when shoppers were exposed to both ad formats. And then this was a game changer in our strategy for budget allocation for this brand. We have run a lot of overlap, the DSP and sponsor products studies, and we keep seeing the same results. So it's probably not a surprise that when you run a full funnel campaign, is going to perform better than just search. But the magic of AMC is that you can measure the actual impact of one or another.
I was going to add, Antonio, you kind of slipped this in earlier, but I want to call this out, which is, when you spend dollars on DSP, the burning question is like, okay, what's happening to my brand searches, right? You can actually run a query to measure that, right? Brand search change related to DSP exposure, right? So I just want to call out that that's now a possibility. It's not a theory, right? Through the AMC data.
Yeah, correct.
Next slide.
We have a question here regarding this specific study. Should we address this one or?
Why don't we? Here's what I suggest, Antonio. We've got 3-4 slides, and then we can get into Q&A after that.
Okay.
Matt will get to that just as soon as we wrap up with the deck. We see the question here.
Perfect. So just another example. This is the device path that shoppers used to purchase, and we had this idea, and I believe we've been pushing this idea. I mean, and when I say we, I mean myself. Back from my time in Google and Facebook, that shoppers interact with your brand in different devices. At different times of the day, and they use up to 5 devices to interact with your brand. So it was surprising to see these results. So what we did is, we ran the study to increase the targeting efficiency and provide deeper insight into our customers' behavior. We had the theory that most consumers were searching on their mobiles and later completing their purchase on their desktops. And we also expected to see dozens of paths to purchase, like phone, then tablet, then desktop, then back to phone, then back to tablet. And however, as you can see, the results were nothing like it. As you can see, for this particular brand, most sales came from people who only use their mobile to complete the purchase after seeing an ad. So what happened is they saw an ad and they performed the purchase. The second most used path was they saw an ad on their laptop, and then they completed the purchase on their mobile device. This was a great insight because this allowed us to increase our budget for mobile devices on DSP and reduce the budget that we were devoting to desktop, increasing the overall ROAS of the campaign. And another thing to notice is that this insight tells you that your PDPs must be optimized for mobile using shorter bullets and descriptions, because most of your sales are probably coming from mobile, right?
And Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would argue that, like, depending on category, this story might be different. But I think the point you're making is that this is actually now possible. Run a query, get the data, make your choices, right? That's
we're outlining specific studies with with real yet randomized data, just to show you what you can do with AMC. Some categories and some studies tend to tell you the same thing. Like, does display is going to impact search? We've known that for 10 years, 11 years, or maybe more. But you can get down to the actual measurement of how much it is impacting, right?
Yep. Here's another one.
Perfect.
I think I think Antonio on this one, just the context of what you were doing before and where you ended up, I think that's super interesting. So if you want to share that, go for it.
Yeah, definitely. So for this study, we're running DSP campaigns with a frequency cap of 4 times per week. And while the results were good, they were short of amazing. And so we would challenge by our client saying, well, what happens if we increase the frequency or if we decrease the frequency? Why is 4 a magic number? And we, 4 is a good number. I've tested that in my Facebook days and in my Google days. But our client challenged us and said, what happens if we don't follow the 4x rule? So what we did is we ran another campaign. This time we didn't set up a frequency cap, just to try to understand what performed better. Because otherwise, it's impossible to do 25 campaigns with 25 different caps. You're just going to waste a lot of money to learn something. But with AMC, now AMC provided us with the ability to do a frequency analysis on the actual campaign. And what we noticed is that with a frequency higher than 4, the sales were more than doubled. So that was important to find out, and it allowed us to challenge our own assumptions, right? So we increased the frequency on the rest of the campaigns, and the results continue to be better. I think that more than trying to state that you should be using a 4x cap or a 5x cap, it's AMC will give you the ability to actually perform a full frequency analysis into different cohorts and graph that into actual sales.
Yeah, and that is one of the key points here, which is, the table on the right gives you what is possible. We just cut it off at 16. 16 was a number because at 4 times a week, if you run it for 30 days, that's 16 exposures. But you could do whatever you want with it, but ultimately get a real sense of what's happening as a function of exposures versus sales, and make some very specific choices around frequency caps if you want to have them. I'll answer this one quick question. Greg, the question here is, what ad type was this? You're running DSP for this stuff, right?
It's the DSP is the only format where you can cap frequency in Amazon ads. So all of this study was DSP only.
Time to purchase.
Okay. So one of our advertisers wanted to understand how long it took for consumers to make a purchase after seeing an ad. And then they will also want to double check if the 14-day attribution window that Amazon tells you was the right attribution window to measure ROAS. So what we did is we created 9 cohorts starting from less than 1 minute to more than 7 days, to better understand how long it took to consumers to make the purchase after seeing an ad, either DSP or sponsored products. And as you can see in this case, around 50% of consumers completed a purchase after in the following 24 hours of seeing an ad. And only 17% took longer than 7 days to complete the purchase. So I believe that Amazon is right with with the 14-day attribution window. You can, however, use a longer attribution window in the AMC up to 28 days, or a shorter attribution window up to 1 day if you want. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole, I will say that like, there's just so much flexibility around attribution modeling, right? It is, one is how long a window do you want to use? You're not constrained by 1, 7, 14. You can choose what you want it to be. And then the other is multi-touch, right? So if you have multiple campaigns influencing performance, how do you want to attribute credit? You have flexibility there as well. There's actually a whole bunch of pre-built queries around attribution modeling: first touch, last touch, multi-touch. I think to me, that is a pretty fascinating possibility now that was not possible before without AMC.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, did we touch on 4? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, cool. Look, so those are the 4 use cases. Antonio, I'm warning you, there's a lot of questions already. So
I know.
we'll get to them in a moment. Again, this is just us getting started and giving you a taste for what this can be. I think the different categories of use cases, maybe Antonio, you want to chime in here too, but broadly speaking, I think one is you can really get a much deeper understanding of cross-ad format influence. When we say cross-ad format, we're talking about DSP to sponsored products, or even within sponsored products, sponsored display to sponsored products, right? So that's one aspect. The other is you can kind of do a ton of deep dive around within one specific ad type. And Antonio has walked us through multiple scenarios of what he's doing with DSP that wasn't possible before. Impact of external traffic is another big aspect. And then also custom analysis, where you could be uploading data sets, mixing and matching with what's already there, and do a whole bunch of bespoke analysis as well. Broadly speaking, we put use cases into these buckets. Any other comments, Antonio, on this topic?
No. I think I think you're touching on pretty much all of them. I think one of the most interesting one is custom analysis. So you can either do online to offline analysis if you have the right data and you perform. I mean, if you create the right study and the right scenario to see how your offline sales get impacted by your online Amazon ads campaigns. There's I think there's a lot to be done there, and but you're covering it all. I mean,
perfect. We are kind of close to wrapping this up, but what we do want to talk about is, if you are a brand or an agency or an aggregator, what is that path to success? What we know is that AMC is a massive data set that's in front of you, and you can get access to it. And we'll talk about access, how to get access in a moment. But I'm going to use Antonio's words here a little bit, which is ultimately there's a vast amount of data, and you have to be super deliberate about having what we are calling a learning agenda as you explore the data set. By learning agenda, it could very simply mean like 5 to 7 important strategic questions. What are they, right? So having that frame of questions you want to answer can guide the exploration. Otherwise, there's just no end to what you could be doing with the data. I think that's super, super important. I'll add a couple more points, and Antonio, I'll let you chime in. The other aspect of this is, ultimately, this is all data, right? You can probe and get to some points of view. A lot of times what that leads to is the next test, the next hypothesis. So exploration of data has to be combined with this test and learn approach. If you find that, look, most of your sales happen from a phone, a mobile phone, and that may have some implications, and you take those actions and see if they've panned out the way you want them to. But that's one of many examples where combining data exploration with test and learn becomes super critical. And then the last point I want to add is, as I've seen you the interface, it helps to have SQL skills on the team. I will also tell you that, learn about 5% of SQL and you will go a very, very long way with AMC. You don't have to get super complicated. In fact, we put out a self-serve SQL training material on our website. Sarah, if you want to just share that link to the SQL training course, feel free to hop on, sign up. You will get an account. You'll watch the video and run through the SQL training. But I really believe that learning SQL is going to be super critical. And by the way, SQL was a means of access, not just Amazon Marketing Cloud, even Amazon Marketing Stream. If you want to access Amazon Marketing Stream data natively from Amazon, you need to know SQL, right? In fact, we have had people from Amazon join in to learn SQL when we did webinars on that topic, but super important for you to be able to make the most out of AMC. Let me pause there. Antonio, if you want to chime in.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you're right about, one of the key paths to success is defining the learning agenda. Unless you're, if you're like really deep into data, like Srinath and I, you can get down writing queries and pulling data with no end in sight for days and days and days. And I think the most important approach is, what business questions, what are strategy questions do I want to answer? And what actions am I going to take after I get those answers, right? So it could be something very simple like, am I reaching enough shoppers? Am I reaching them with the right frequency? Am I allocating budget appropriately? Am I attributing ROAS correctly? Am I over-investing or under-investing on a specific type of ad? I believe that we have all had burning questions about one thing or another regarding Amazon ads, and AMC allows us to go and explore the answers, create a feedback loop into your actual campaign management, and do the test and learn approach you mentioned, Srinath.
Totally. With that, let's get into Q&A. There's a whole bunch of questions already. So I'm going to fire some of these at you, Antonio. But for the rest of you, just feel free to kind of drop your questions in the thread. We'll take as many as we can. One quick thing is, how do you get access to AMC? Basically, what Amazon is doing is that if you're spending DSP dollars over the last 30 days, they're happy to give you AMC access, but they do want to ensure that you have the skills on the team to go do something with it. So if you already have access, great. If you don't have access, Sarah, please share a link where just fill out that form. We can help you get access. Again, it'll just depend on, hey, are you spending DSP dollars? Yes, no. Either that, or if you have a rep that you're talking to, just speak with them too. But feel free to fill out the form if you are desiring AMC access and you don't have it yet. It should be in the chat. The URL is in the chat. So that's one. Let me just take the questions from the top. One question is, I'm curious if you can pull attribution of OTT, streaming, and streaming as well into AMC.
All of OTT, Twitch, etc. data sets are already included in the AMC data sets.
Yeah. There's a question from Matt. Are you seeing same results across all categories, or are you working only specific categories?
That was with the DSP and sponsored products overlap, right?
Yeah.
So we're seeing similar results. It varies in different categories, but I mean, it varies in magnitude, but they actually, the insight is the same. The purchase rate is multiple times higher when you reach people with both types of Amazon ads.
Kathleen, there's a question here, which is when he compares sales data from Seller Central and then combines that with the AMC data, there are some gaps. I think, Antonio, just correct me if I'm wrong, but first of all, compare advertising data sets, right? That's one. Second is if you get that paid version of ads of AMC, you also get non-ad exposed data, which gives you the complete data set. And I would combine the two to look at overall sales data. But Kathleen, we can work offline on this, but I think step one I would do is just make sure that, let's say, sponsored ads data looks okay. In our case, I mean, in almost all cases where we have looked at the data and verified it, it looks pretty okay. And if there are gaps, by the way, you can send a note to support, and they're usually pretty quick in responding back. Another question from Matt. Do you have to manually create tags, or will AMC auto-attribute based on specific identifiers?
No, you don't have to create any type of tag. When you create an AMC instance, you will link your instance to your advertiser ID on DSP and your entity ID on the sponsored products, and all data will get filled there automatically. So you don't need to create any type of tag. Tags are for Amazon attribution, which is for measuring external traffic.
Yeah. Russ, a great question. Let me read this question aloud. How would you describe to a CEO or CMO why AMC is critical? What's the cost to get started? What type of payback period can they expect? Loaded question. I'll try to take a crack at it. There is no substitute for the granularity and the connections AMC data offers across all the ads that shoppers are exposed to. So it's like, and as Amazon gets super competitive, your grain of optimization plays a huge role in how you can stay competitive. And so I guess maybe not a popular opinion, but dial forward 6 months. If you do not have your hands around AMC, you're really, really far behind in terms of how you operate your ads. That's just what it is. I think we'll be in a world where you cannot operate without it. It is entirely possible it'll become the primary source of measurement because it has the grain of data that nothing else does. In terms of monetary outcomes, if you want to eke out optimizations, and if your spend gets larger and larger, the impact of this gets larger and larger. AMC will be the path for you to find those fine-grained optimizations and really maximize ROI from your ad spend. In terms of cost to get started, the advertising data today is free. Who knows what will happen in the future? So there's actually no cost to getting AMC access. The cost actually is in committing resources that know what to do with the data. And by the way, as I say this, I want to call out one more thing. If you come at AMC with a reporting and dashboard mindset, you're not going to get much from it. Right? There's all kinds of operational data like advertising, search ads data, DSP data, where yes, there is a need to have operational reports and dashboard to monitor the business, but that's not what AMC is. AMC is really about asking new, hard, interesting questions and probing the data in search of answers for those questions. It is really an ad hoc research mechanism. So I wouldn't think about this as yet another reporting and dashboard tool. That's not what it is, And then the last point, Russ, again, you can get AMC access with advertising data at no cost to you today. A paid version got launched less than 2 weeks ago, where you also get retail data. So you can combine advertising and retail data. The pricing around which is something that Amazon is still trying to figure out. In our case, we went from 7-day to 30-day trial, but I think that they are trying to figure out how to price this thing. So no firmed up answers just yet on that. Hope that answers your question, Russ. Let's see what else. Somebody here had a technical problem. No worries, we'll get you the recording. Don't worry about it.
I see an interesting one. How are you setting up analysis of impact of Amazon media spend? You want to take this? Should I take it?
Go for it, Anthony.
Perfect. So the way that you measure of Amazon media spend is through the Sysmeq ad server. And what you do is we can guide you through this. You need to create some tags in SAS, in Sysmeq ad server, and then have the Amazon AMC team import that data sets for you. We can definitely help you on how to do that.
Yeah, so by the way, I left both our emails in the chat. You can find as many which ways, but just FYI, if you have further questions, send us a note. While I have your attention, Sarah, can you just drop the webinar feedback form too? The feedback form has a couple of questions that could be interesting for you. One is, what is that burning strategy question you might want to answer with AMC? Just share it with us. We want to see whether or not that can be done today, and we'd love to get back to you. That's one. Second is any input on future webinar topics that we'd like for us to cover. If it is just the next version of AMC, that's fine too, but please take a moment to provide your input. Sarah just shared the webinar feedback form. Also, the link to the Intentwise LinkedIn page is right there. Just follow it. We'll be sharing the recording and a whole bunch of other stuff in the future on that, so please follow that as well. All right, back to questions. Yeah, I mean, Russ just shared a comment here. Completely agree, Russ. I think we should talk about this more because I think from a strategy perspective, this is a very critical data asset that people have to think about. But yeah, more to come on this. Keith, thank you for the comment. Just take a moment to fill out the webinar form, the feedback form. Just put in your thoughts there. That'd be super helpful. Anything here? Or does AMC report on Amazon posts and live?
Yeah, no. Right now, AMC supports sponsor products, sponsor display, DSP, and everything. Everything that you can tag of Amazon with the Sysmeq ad server.
Great questions.
Some hard questions.
Let's see what else did we.
I love this session. It's really cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to see their feedback and just what other topics they want to get into. I just, based on the poll though, it just feels like step one, for anyone here that is incurring DSP spend, right? Like helping them get AMC access. Like it just feels like there's some first order things we can help a bunch of folks here with.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I think we have gone through the questions here. Let's see. Let me stop sharing. So, yeah. Antonio, again, thank you so much for joining. I think your experience and just your makeup of the business puts you in a very interesting vantage point around AMC. So I'm sure we'll be talking more about this. Thank you for taking the time. And again, follow us, fill out the form, send us an email if you have any questions. But you know where to find us. We'd be super happy to help you get you started on this path. Any closing comments, Antonio?
No, I mean, as usual, thank you for having me in this session. I think I really enjoyed this one, especially with with a lot of hard questions. I'm expecting, in a few months, if we do another one, that they're gonna be, we're gonna have to brush up on our SQL, because there are gonna be some more technical, some deeper questions. And I loved what you said. AMC is about asking new, hard, interesting questions and probing the data. So thank you so much for having us.
Awesome. Again, ladies, gentlemen, wherever you're dialing in from, thank you so much again. Until the next webinar, stay safe and probe away, and just reach out if you need AMC access. Let's talk. Thank you so much. Bye.